first snow of first snow of the year. Certainly the first snow of the deer season. I got up well before daylight. I could look out in the fields and saw 2 deer in front of the house and 2 deer behind it. So it took a while to determine what they were. It got a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter. But finally, it was best I could tell. 2 does over behind the house. There was a buck and a doe right out there in front of the Quigley. 15, 20 yards in front of the Quigley with a buck that I would have shot had I been out here. If I'd had been out here and had my flintlocks here, so if I had been out here, I'd have shot him with that flintlock. I mean, I could have shot him from the house with the .6, but I didn't want to do that. But I'm holding out for a good deer with the center fire rifle. But if a buck like the one that was standing here comes out in front of the Quigley, gives me a good shot at the flintlock, I will take it. But I had to stay at the house until the deer left or got out of the way. Then I had to take the pup out to do her business. She'd never seen snow before. And she was just playing in the snow. She liked to never got down to business, as shall we say. So I'm just now getting out here. Tail end of the solar period. About 45 minutes to an hour solar period left. But so far this morning, there was certainly activity. Deer activity. There surely was. There was deer activity. Okay. I'm in the fort now. Cold out this morning, so I fired up the little buddy heater. That's pretty. The winter weather advisory is in effect until this time tomorrow morning. I'm not really sure what they're banking on, because radar don't even show any precipitation in the area at all. But with this little, more or less a dusting of snow that we've got here, it means we have pretty significant snow up in the mountains. We're at about 2,000 feet elevation here, and our mountains go up to almost 6,000, so quite a bit of difference. Quite a bit of difference. Right here I'm at 2,000, And the top of the mountain, that ridge right there is 2,500. And that 500 feet can oftentimes be a world of difference. There might be a significant snow up there and not a drop down here. So elevation can make a heck of a difference. Anyway, I'm going to sit down here and get me a cup of coffee and see what's going on. I like to really hunt with snow on the ground. I love the snow. But I have never seen a lot of deer movement or much deer movement at all the day of a snowstorm. You know, this is not much of a storm, it's more or less a dusting, but that still affects them. But when it's a significant storm, several inches of snowfall, I've never seen good movement that day at all. You can just walk around through the fields and woods and stuff, you don't see much movement out during the storm. But when the storm ends, that night there'll be lots of movement. And the next morning when you go out, all those fields and woods and stuff that hardly had a track in it, they've been everywhere. I've watched that happen said I'm 81 years old and been hunting deer most of my life, and that's what I've seen and observed. But we'll see. Like I said, that buck that was standing right here, right here. A few minutes ago, when I was watching him from the house there, which is 138 yards from the front door to the edge of the fort here, to Fort Quigley, is 138 yards. And that buck was standing right there. I mean, a duck soup shot for a flintlock. Oh, ooh. I'm glad I wasn't out here. Because if he'd been standing right there, I was like a dummy, I'd have shot him. Man, I don't need to shoot a deer today. I've got a big buck hide that I've got to take the grain off the hair and the flesh side today, and it's cold as 40 Dickenses out there in the wind. Ooh. So I certainly don't need to add to that to skin out and cut up another one. Ooh, so what am I doing out here? I don't know. It's deer season, I reckon. Matter of fact, it's this will mark the halfway point. Season has been open for. This is Friday, and it opened last Saturday. So we're pretty much halfway through the season. I've taken one little buck. But, my gosh, archery season, the season will close, the rifle season will close one day, and archery reopens the next day. And then it goes for a week or two, and then the last 3 weeks of the season will be muzzleloader season again. So we've got plenty of time, off right up to the first Saturday in January to get that second buck and a few does. And my buddy Jerry and I, he wants to go over to South Carolina to hunt with some friends of his over there, so we're going to go to South Carolina for a few days. Well, they hunt with shotguns and dogs. I hadn't done that in many, many years. Used to really enjoy that. I haven't done that in years. In my home state of Virginia here, you can run with dogs. You can run deer with dogs up in the eastern part of the state where it's mostly flat, open farm country with little patches of woods here and there. And the people up there are pretty much in the mindset, boy, you have to have dogs. You can't get them out of these thickets and everything. I've gone far and hunted several times. I hadn't found a thicket. If you want to see a thicket, come out to the western part of the state, get up here in these mountains, and I'll introduce you to some laurel thickets. You ain't seen a thicket, you see a mountain laurel thicket. Hell, see, we can't hunt them with dogs in the western part of the state where we got rough mountain country, humongous thickets, but they can in the eastern part of the state where the hunting's easy, it's duck soup. We old boys from the mountains used to go up there. There was a farmer that had 600 acres and he'd let us hunt. Of course, he died. Of course, the farm, you know what happens. The farm's all broke up and everything else and becomes subdivision and all. But he had 600 acres. And that was back when we didn't hardly have any deer at all down here in these mountains. They reed up with them up there. I mean, you'd see herds up 20, 25, 30 or more deer in a herd. I mean, they were everywhere. Yeah. Oh, it was wild. But they running with dogs. And they said they had to run with dogs. But we'd go up there and just hunt without dogs, just get out there with their rifles. And you were allowed at that time, up in that part of the country, 2 deer apiece. So 3 or 4 of us go up there and we come back pick up loads of deer. And you'd take them over to the check station, which you had to then. I'll never forget the first time we ever took 8 deer. There was 4 of us. We took 8 deer over to check station that we'd all, you know, each one of us had gotten our 2 deer that day. And we had them in the back of the truck and took them over to the check station. And people said, how in the world did you get all those deer? That we got off the road, kind of turned the field, says everywhere, just pick you out a couple and shoot them. That was the Betsy. Oh, I'm going to tell you a little story. First time we went up there to the fellow's house, farm, I met him here in Bristol and done him a favor. He had a problem and I got him out of his mess that he was in and found out he had that land up in eastern Virginia. He said, yeah, come on up and hunt. So the day we go up there, we're there at his house real early in the morning. And here come 2 people from the local hunting club. And they come over there and they want to know if they could let him know if they were going to hunt his farm that day. And he said, well, I've let these boys here from down Bristol come up and hunt for a few days. And that guy said, well, wait a minute. Said, you're welcome to join our club. You're welcome to hunt with our club. I thought, oh, Lord, we've come all the way up here now. How am I going to get out of this? And he was sitting there talking to the landowner and everything, you know, and he'd yell, yeah, y'all come on out and hunt and everything, you know, we'll treat you just like you're a member of the club, and put you on the best stands and all that kind of stuff, you know. Then he was talking, he told the farmer, he said, oh, we was over hunting so-and-so's place yesterday. He said, we heard a rifle shot. And that's my chance. We heard a rifle shot. And we all have rifles. All 4 of us have rifles. He said, oh. It's nothing personal against you at all. He said, it's just a club rule that nobody can can hunt with rifles. Have to be shotguns. I said, boys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. And I said, well, that's okay. I understand. That's perfectly okay. So that was our way out. We had rifles. Of course, we also had shotguns, but I failed to mention that. And anyway, we got out there, and that was the first time we went up there, and I'd never seen such good hunting in my life. There were deer everywhere. And then people would have a hard time getting them, because what they'd do, they'd go down, they'd meet at a restaurant about 4 o'clock in the morning, and get them a big breakfast, and they had all these little tokens, if you want to call them that they put in a jar. And after breakfast, everybody go by and they'd reach in there and they'd pull out one of these little things, had numbers on letters and numbers. Well, those letters and numbers corresponded to a certain stand, certain deer stand. Of course, never one of them's on the road, right in the middle, was on the road, on the edge of the road. So they go by and everybody draw them out of the stand, you're taking pot luck, which stand you're going to get on. And then they'd load everybody up in a pickup that's going to go to this, that, and the other stand, and another pickup is going to this, that, and that stand, And they'd run down and they'd drop everybody off on the road, and they'd stand right there in the middle of the road. Now, that's their stand, right there in the middle of the road. And then they'd go over, and at a certain time, they'd turn all the dogs loose. And my God, they had dogs. Tons of dogs. So those dogs would take off, and they would make a drive through a certain spot, area. And if you were lucky enough to be standing there when the dogs drove a deer your way, you'd get a shot. If you didn't get a shot. The deer, they'd just take those deer and drive them, big old fast foxhounds, big dogs. And they'd run them plumb out of the country. Well, then they'd run around, pick everybody back up again after that few minutes drive through there, spend the rest of the morning trying to gather up all the dogs they could. So they gather up as many dogs they could. Then they go in town, go back to the restaurant, get them something to eat, make another drawing, determine who's going to get what stand, take everybody out and drop them off again, turn the dogs loose, let them make another drive, pick everybody up in the truck again, spend the rest of the day trying to find enough dogs for tomorrow morning's hunt. That's what they did. It's no wonder they had a hard time getting any deer. I mean, the luck of the draw, whether the dogs ran the deer by whatever stand you drew. We got out there and hunted deer up there just like we'd hunt them here in these mountains, getting out there and wandering around through the countryside looking for them. My God, we found deer everywhere. It was like, the old saying says, almost like shooting fish in a barrel. Those people up there, they didn't hunt that way. And they really had the mindset that's the only way they're going to get a deer. They were shocked at the deer we had. Those hunt club members, they could not believe all the deer that we had. Yet it was some of the easiest hunting going. Goodness gracious. But hunting with dogs can be fun, but it can also just be frustrating as Dickens. Now, in Arkansas, when I was stationed in Arkansas, a young man, they hunted deer with dogs there too, but they were restricted. They had to use beagles. They couldn't use a big old fast dog. So they go out there and they'd turn 2 or 3 beagles loose. The beagles run around, they get on a deer trail, and they just push the deer, They just keep the deer moving, not a dead run like a big fast foxhound. The deer just loping along, just trying to stay ahead of the dogs. You could get out there in the woods. This is in the wooded country and stuff. And you get out there, if you knew the country, you try to figure out where they're going, and you actually try to loop around and get ahead of them. And you were constantly trying to cut the deer off, and that was fun. And when you hear them, the dogs are coming your way, they're getting louder and louder, and you're looking, where in the world's the deer? Where in the world's the deer? And you'd always be a good long ways ahead of the dogs. And then, boom, it was exciting, particularly as a young man. I mean, Every deer got my heart pounding. You know, them dogs was getting closer. My heart was a pounding. But up there in Eastern Virginia, that's not my cup of tea. But that kind of hunting. Oh well, it is what it is, I reckon. You know, yesterday there was a lot of deer movement during that early morning solar period, and lots of movement for an hour and a half after solar period ended. Now this morning there was movement during the solar period. For a fact, there was. But not nearly as much as it was yesterday. And all movement stopped 45 minutes before the solar period ended. Yesterday it went for an hour and a half after it ended. Today it stopped 45 minutes before it ended. What this little snow may or may not have had anything to do with it, I don't know. All I'm saying, that's what it is. I'm just observing what happened. So they've quit. It's after the solar period. Solar period's over. And there was no movement at all during that last 45 minutes of the solar period. And the solar period's well past. 30, 40 minutes past the solar period. And still no movement whatsoever. So I got some stuff I need to do, both with that deer hide back there that I'm rinsing the lime out of. And I'm going to go back and let that little pup out. This is her first snow. When I let her out to do her business this morning, I had to keep her on a leash. Well, I'm going to go back and turn her loose and let her get out and romp and have a little bit of fun. Because I really don't want to get one right now anyway, so. Since I don't want one and she'd like to have a little fun, let's go do the right thing for the puppy. I think the gods are smiling on me. I've been working on membraning, getting the membrane off of a big buck hide to make into buckskin. I was working on that, and I worked on it a little longer than I probably should have before stopping to come back out here and hunt a little bit. When I started back out here at the Quig, I looked up here on the hill and I saw a couple, 3 does up there, and I care whether they see me or not. So I just walked right out across the wide open. Got out here about 40 yards of Quigley, looked up on the hill there. The deer standing just looking right at me, facing right at me. I put my binoculars on him. One of the best bucks I've seen all year. He just standing up there about 200 yards. So looking right at me. He turned around and run back up there with the does. And all of them jumped the fence and went back to the woods. So I didn't shoot a pretty good buck, which means I don't have to work him up, don't have to skin him out, cut him up or anything, cut him out or nothing. On this cold, windy, cold afternoon. So I'm blessed. I really am blessed. That's twice today that the bucks had been in position before I was. This morning, there's a buck, and not a big buck, but a decent buck, standing 15, 20 yards out in front of Fort Quigley here, and right at the window here. A buck that I most definitely would have shot had I been here with the flintlock. I'm still holding out for a better buck, you know. If one pops up here at a distance. Like I said, I've got a 7mm Magnum 30-06, both Ruger #1s, sitting right here, waiting for the big boys to come out of the distance. But that buck was standing right here. A buck that I most definitely would have shot with flintlock. But he was already here. So I had to wait till he left before I could even get out here. And then this afternoon, just a few minutes ago, I come out and there's a good buck standing up there on the hill in Ruger #1 range, looking right at me. Of course, he had me pegged, you know. He turned around and left. So that's twice today that I was blessed not to get one. Oh, that's great. That's great. I got to see him. I would have had the opportunities. So I got the excitement without having to freeze my rear end off out there working them up. I mean, the temperature's bad enough, you know, it's right at 30, what have you, right around there, but it's a wind. Cotton picking wind cuts you in two. And it comes right through that alleyway there in the barn. It's vicious. It'll freeze you. And handling that wet, cold hide, woo, freezes your hand. So, I'm going to sit here for a little while longer, about another hour or so. With any luck, maybe I still won't get one today. A buck came out up there. He's not a buck that I would want to. Monster buck that I would shoot with the 7mm. That won't stay where you put it. With any luck, that buck will stay up there on the hill. And he won't come down here at flintlock range. Because he's a flintlock buck. I will take him with flintlock. But he's in range right there. Either the out 6 or the 7mm, particularly 7mm. I don't want to take a buck of that size. Be my second and final buck of the year. I don't want to take a buck of that size with a modern rifle. That dadgum buck was up there around 300 yards. He's fed down to about, he's feeding this way, he's fed down to about 275. Lord, feller, don't come no closer. He's drifting this way, but I'm running out. I'm out of shooting light. I'm gonna have to step outside the Quigley here and spook him off, I guess. I'll try to just quietly slip out. Maybe I can get out without spooking him. Thank goodness he stayed up there and didn't give me a didn't come on down here and give me a flintlock shot. I'm blessed. Well, today is Saturday, which begins the second week of a 2-week rifle season. It's not nearly as cold today as it has been the last couple of days. It was 37 out when I left the house, and quite windy and misty rain. Fog still on the higher ridges. It's not right down here in the valley, but fog up on the higher ridges. And we'll get settled in. Get me out a cup of a thermos of coffee and start watching fields and see what kind of treats they might give up today. Let's get settled in. Trusty coffee out of here. Let me take a quick look here and see what the solar periods are. There's one going right now. It's 7:15. It goes until 8:30. We're right in the middle of one, but I have not seen. I didn't see anything this morning when I got up. Got light enough to see out in the fields. I let it get light enough to see out here in the fields before I turn that pup loose to do her business. I don't want to let her out before daylight when I can't see, and in the field might be big buck standing there and she scare it off. So I wait till it's light enough where I can see. And there was nothing. I didn't see anything. So I let her out to her business, and I'll come on out, and then I came on out here to the Quigley, and haven't seen anything yet, so just have a cup of coffee. It's another strangely quiet morning. I don't see any wildlife activity, none. No crows, no turkeys. No Tweety birds, no blue jays, no vultures. Really amazing how wildlife can be so quiet, so shut down. And then all of a sudden, about everything starts moving. Oh no. The activity periods, the solar periods. Usually when one thing moves, they all move. In fishing, all the fish become active during the solar period. It doesn't matter what the species is. Basically they're all dormant or they're all active. Now, when I use the word all, that can be a little bit misleading because there's always a straggler. The fish that is not doing what the rest of them do. It's kind of a maverick, you know. And there are days when fish just are not biting, they're not active. When your best bet to catch a fish is to go after those stragglers. There'll be a fish here and there that is active that will hit, but they're widely scattered, so you got to cover a lot of water to find them. And when it comes to game, wildlife, deer and stuff, there's always possibility of the maverick, you know, the one that's the nonconformist. He's going to be out doing his thing regardless of what the rest of his buddies are doing. So that always gives you the chance, you know, it's always a hope, and you might find him even if the rest of them are not moving. So on days like this when there is, you don't see anything move, just stay with it. The number one key to fishing success or getting your buck is persistence. Just stay at it. You just keep fishing till you find it. You keep hunting till you find the buck. Period. That's it. Just stay at it. Too many people get discouraged and quit too easy. They go out on opening morning and they don't get a buck. They got high hopes on opening morning, you know. They go out and they don't get their deer. Well, their hopes kind of go down a little bit. Their confidence goes down. Then they go out on the second day and they don't get anything, don't see anything. Their confidence is steady going down every day. Their expectations and their confidence is going down. When in reality, it should be the other way around. If you go out there, open the morning, right off the bat, and you find your buck, count your lucky stars. That seldom ever happens for me. In reality, it don't happen but to a small percentage of the people. And it's certainly not going to happen to the same hunter year after year. The fact of the matter is, the longer you stay in the habitat, the longer you stay in that deer's habitat, that buck's habitat, the better your chances are of finding him. I use this expression. If there was only one deer, one buck in the entire state, whatever state that might be, and one hunter, eventually they'll both be at the same place at the same time. Now, if there's only one hunter and one deer, that might take 500 years, but it would happen. But if you stay in the woods, you stay at, how do you, what's your advice to your number one advice to getting a buck, to getting a good deer? And speaking from nearly 80 years of experience, the number one thing, keep a gun in the woods. Just keep a gun out there. Just keep a weapon out there. Keep your bow out there. Whatever it is you hunt with, stay with it. Go day after day after day after day until you finally come across whatever it is you're looking for. You just stay at it. Persistence. Just be so doggone stubborn you won't quit. That's the key. So I'm going to sit back here and have some more stubborn coffee. It has been one very quiet morning. I haven't seen a thing. All of a sudden you look up, a few deer come to the food plot. The deer that were in that food plot right there a few minutes ago have moved up to the top of that hill there. Well, the solar period just ended. Two of the 4 does that they're feeding they've already left the field. And the others have worked their way right to the very edge of the woods. They're right at the fence, so they'll be leaving. And so I'm going to, hadn't seen a buck or anything else. It's just those 4 does is all I've seen today. And as far as the solar table rating a day, today was rated a very poor day. And so far it has not been a barn burner, that's for sure. So I gotta go back to the house and get a bite to eat, and I gotta get started working on that, finishing degraining that deer skin I got back there working. bacon buckskin all. I'll finish graining it. Get it put on a stretcher today. I'll take one hide off the stretcher. Finish preparing this and getting it ready and put it on the stretcher. And then in a day or so, I'll get started fleshing out another one. Yeah. Let's go to the house and get a bite to eat. And just like that, I looked up, all of them are gone. Amazing. Sowing period ended, they vanished. Amazing how accurate those things are.